Disclaimer. The following is for entertainment. Do not use the technologies or ideas mentioned in place of talking to your doctor. Wilhelm Reich. Starting off strong, recovering the antics of a man who, after twice avoiding the Holocaust by a hair, wrote books on how people should and should not interact with their partner physically. When he wasn't doing that, he was attempting to avail illness by having people sit in boxes made to create an electromagnetic field that, in his thinking, could channel an unseen energy into people and heal them. In the 1950s, Reich was jailed for violation of interstate shipping laws and died in jail. While the FDA congratulated themselves on not ever having to hear of orgone again, people didn't forget. And in the 1980s, Heiko Lasik performed research on orgone-based healing. The results are listed below, and not to be outdone, I did my own with help from Bennett of Broadcasting Seeds, which are also linked below. Please take a look, as it's very uplifting what we've learned. Royal Raymond Rife. From his origin of a humble chauffeur, R.R. Rife won Henry Timkin's support by inventing a device that could detect flaws in his steel, saving him millions in overhead. After helping his sister Amelia C. Bridges recover from illness, he gained even more support from the Timkins. Under their slush fund, he invented the Rife scope and the Rife beam. The Rife scope would zoom in to an extreme degree and could spot the colour of sickness at the microscopic level. In understanding the relationship between light and sound, he could identify the frequency of sound that would shatter the illness. This is the same technique used to shatter glass by singing. He gained attention from Milbank Johnson MD, and even received praise from the Smithsonian Report in 1944. Rife was sued in 1939 by Philip Hoyland, who had been fired for messing around with Rife machines. The case caused Rife severe distress, and despite winning the lawsuit, he fell into alcoholism and had to say goodbye to Mrs. Bridges the next year. After his research partner John Burnett reported his lab burning down, the AMA under Maurice Fishbein threatened to revoke medical licenses and research grants from anyone who supported Rife. While it seemed game over for Rifean technology, John Crane became Rife's colleague in 1950 and convinced him to heal the wife of his friend John Marsh. With help from retired police mechanic Vern Thompson, they founded Life Labs Incorporated and began making traction once more. Some years later, though, the AMA investigated and jailed Marsh and Crane, while Rife avoided prison. Rife died in 1971, but even then the public wouldn't forget. Stephen Ross, PhD, found one of the original 5 Rife devices, while the other 4 could be anywhere. If you want to know the full story, see our documentary on the subject. Dinshaw Gardiali. Having studied the works of Edwin Babbitt, Gardiali's philosophy was that you could heal people via exposure to coloured lights, using a kerosene glass bottle to shine said light. When applied to the right part of the body, his device, known as the spectrochrome, would avail sicknesses. He also invented the Dinshaw automobile fault finder, the anti-forgery pen, and many other inventions. Gardiali won over surgeon Kate Baldwin after he moved to the US. Dinshaw was, however, arrested, and his devices destroyed by the establishment, although he survived his time in jail and went back to selling them under the description of no curative or therapeutic value. After Dinshaw passed, his sons took charge of the Spectrochrome Institute, which is still active in New Jersey. The spectrochrome had some parallels with acupuncture in how it was used. Antoine Priore. Priore has been compared to Isaac Newton due to his observation of oranges not rotting when exposed to electrical equipment. After he received help escaping the Nazis, he killed some of them and began working in southern France. Priore invented the M600 and attracted people from far and wide to use it to improve their chances against illness. The M600 was described by Priore as follows. It rotates and receives radio and radar emissions in high and hyper frequencies, while a powerful magnetic field acts on the output device, resulting in cold plasma, which constitutes what has been called Priore radiation. The entire installation must be protected by a Faraday cage which stops the stray rays. More than 14 different parameters must be mastered to get the effects of Priore's radiation. Priore's work was going very well, until funding was stopped out of nowhere This in spite of experiments on a bull and a cat indicating that it could weaken the Big C. In the years that followed, Priore's sister died from said dread disease, and Priore rejoined her soon after. Research on the M600 was kept secret by Jean-Pierre Chevemant, and released only after extensive work by Professor Portazol. Priore's patents were made public, but they proved extremely hard to understand. They're linked below if you feel like trying. George Lakhovsky. Born in the Russian Empire, Lakhovsky served in World War I by helping improve radios in France. After extensive studying, mostly under Arsène d'Arsenval, yes, that's his name, he created the shortwave oscillator, the purpose of which was to send into the body the frequency it would emit if it was healthy. In Lakhovsky's thinking, cells were akin to broadcasting and receiving stations for frequencies, and could be guided into functioning normally by giving them an example to follow. In the 1920s, Lakhovsky claimed to have cured plants of the Big C. In 1931, he registered the invention of the multi-wavelength generator, which he used in various Paris hospitals, as well as on himself, which according to his recollections stopped the Big C. He even presented his idea at the International Congress of Radiobiology in Venice, and in Vienna soon after at the International Congress of Shortwaves. In 1939, Lakhovsky had The Secret of Life published. The next year, though, he went into hiding to avoid the ICE agents until... the Gestapo. I get confused between the two. Until he was able to escape to the US. Despite several New York hospitals reporting impressive results, Lakhovsky was hit by a limo and died at the very end of August 1942. In 1963, however, Bob Beck and Dr. L.O. Anderson joined forces to recreate the device. Using Lakhovsky and Tesla's philosophies, they were able to create a lightweight, portable MWO. Later on, Ralph Bergstresser also assisted with creating and reintroducing Lakhovsky-based devices. In 1983, Stephen Ross PhD found and highlighted the MWO, which to his surprise sounded like someone was frying bacon. Nikola Tesla. Quite possibly the flagship of futuristic inventors, Tesla is rumoured to have invented a medbed that could heal people remotely by activating the DNA repair function of cells using frequency. Not unlike the MWO. Medbeds look a lot like the hypersleep pods from Alien, and were rumoured to reverse the effects of aging, with some saying they could even regrow limbs. In Delaware, there exists a Tesla Medbed Centre that is today promoting the device despite disputes with the FDA. If you recall Ralph Bergstresser, he claimed to be the last person to see Tesla before he died, and used Tesla coils to power his MWOs. Gaston Naessens. Naessens' ambition was as tall as he was. Standing at around 6'6", he invented the somatoscope. In his thinking, the Big C was caused by what he called somatids, which he explained using this growth cycle. His devices were made to target their cell growth. He also invented the Naessens beam, which was sound-based, as were many of the previous examples. In the Christopher Bird book, The Persecution and Trial of Gaston Naessens, this excerpt can be found. The microscope was known as the somatoscope because of its ability to reveal a somatid, which Naessens defined as the smallest fundamental unit of life, existing between energy and matter, capable of developing into bacteria and linked to disease. This new microscope helped him to develop novel anti-C products that had exciting new positive effects. The first was a confection he named GN24 for the initial letters of his first and last names, and for 1924, the year of his birth. Naessens' new product incorporated an anti-fermentive property, and was sold in Swiss pharmacies, and showed excellent results when administered by doctors and patients with various forms of Big C. He also invented a serum that had an uncanny resemblance to Crybiosum by Stephen Jurovic. From Christopher Bird's book, this can also be found. Seeking a more imposing weapon to the Big C, Naessens turned to the idea of a serum. He achieved this by hyper-immunizing a large horse by injecting the animal with Big C cell cultures, allowing the animal to produce antibodies in large quantities. Blood taken from the horse contained these antibodies, and when purified could fight the disease. It seems to cause even more positive results than the effects of the GN24, and led to the restraint or reversal of disease's progress. This new serum was known as Anablast. One patient, named Suzanne Montjoint, was treated in 1960 by the Anablast, and she'd given up all hope before the treatment. By the time treatment began, she was semi-comatose. Within 4 days, all of her pains had almost disappeared, and she regained consciousness. By April 1962, after an examination of her blood, Nason's declared that the somatid cycle of Suzanne's blood had returned to normal. To be clear, I'm not saying you should use this in place of getting normal treatment. Nason's was arrested for accessory to murder when someone used his beam in place of standard Big C treatment. He was however acquitted and took his work to the Great White North. Professor O. Forged in the hard industrial north of England, I began my work in 2020 when I first heard of the organometer. After throwing one together with duct tape, I gave it to a then friend of mine who told me that his post-vasectomy pain disorder stopped hurting. From there, I continued giving it out to anyone who would give it the time of day. In 2022, I started this channel to discuss it. I began releasing more documentaries, featuring in interviews, and helping people escape from pain using the organometer. I've also bought tickets to go and see David Icke on February the 17th to discuss our work, which if all goes well could be a major game changer. I'd never have gotten off the ground without my team, so big thanks to Lizzyswoop, Big Al, Arthur, my subscriber base, and my Patreon supporters. And especially 2 people who I won't name that have given me strength in my darkest hours. If you want to see me getting dunked on in our comedy video, click here. And if you want to learn more about any of the devices covered, click here.